everyone, welcome back to ALifeLearned. Today I'd like to show you the Global Climate Walk from Little Old London, Ontario, and how important each and every one of us is in doing our part to protect the planet, because in the end, it really is ours to lose.
An idea
can escape.
Ideas are bulletproof.
So today, November 29th, people all over the world got together to march for the Global Climate Walk to show their governments that the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the land we walk on is our #1 priority, and we want them to focus on taking care of it and making sure that it lasts. Today was chosen for the walk because tomorrow many of the world's governments are gathering in Paris for the 2015 United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP21, where all the governments are wanting to discuss making targets to reduce emissions and address climate change in general. And since the mid-1990s, it has also been a place where they've been making negotiations about the Kyoto Protocol. And unfortunately, many Canadians are aware that Canada had backed out of that, being part of the Conservative government. But our new governments, the Liberals, have a different view on things. The new Prime Minister, Trudeau, has said on more than one occasion that he doesn't believe we can have an economy without an environment that supports it.
The simple fact is that in 2015, pretending that we have to choose between the economy and the environment is as harmful as it is wrong. Premier Prentice made a similar argument when he said that focusing on environmental policy isn't exclusively a question of morality. Increasingly, it's an economic imperative.
He has also acknowledged that we really need to focus on an economy that lasts, and the only way to do that is to be aware of the impacts that we're going to have on the future with our current emissions.
We all know we need jobs. We need an economy that works. We just don't want it to come at the cost of our children and grandchildren. And getting that balance right is the job of a democratically elected government. And that is my promise and commitment, that I will build an economy that is anchored in a long-term view of what is best for Canadians now and for generations to come, by respecting the environment and the ecosystem services that we rely on to create that economy.
And Trudeau has also acknowledged on more than one occasion that the targets we had previously set for emissions reductions aren't even close to being reached.
With 5 years to go, we're nowhere near meeting the emission reduction targets that Mr. Harper committed us to in Copenhagen. We're not collectively on track to meet those targets, not even close.
But even though we're seeing our government make these positive changes and acknowledge the things that do need to be changed, we can't take it as action. We need to make sure that they do follow through. And one of the ways we can make sure to do that is by showing the government how much of a priority the environment really is to us, by participating in climate walks, by participating in different events that show that the environment is a priority to us. And as well, of course, being environmental stewards ourselves, making a good example for our children and for anyone else around us in what is a proper way to dispose of waste, what is a proper way to not waste water, stuff like that, as well as not running your car and trying to reduce the emissions that you make, to set the example that this is what matters to us and this is what our government needs to focus on. Thankfully, unlike past years where the Conservatives were representing us, the Liberals have said that they're going to be going to the conference with some progressive messages about Canada and the way that we really do want to get more focused on the environment than we have been in the past decade.
I will go to the Paris conference with 2 messages for our international partners. Number 1, Canada takes its environmental responsibilities seriously, and we will do more in the fight against climate change. We will lead on climate change because it's the right thing to do and because it's good for our economy. Number 2, getting our resources to market is a priority for Canadians, and we know that that economic success depends on us keeping our word on the environment. A lack of environmental stewardship is paralyzing major resource projects. Canada will establish emissions reduction targets informed by the best economic and scientific analysis. All provinces and territories will have to do their share.
But Elizabeth May actually points out that we still need more.
Canada right now has the weakest target in the G7. It's unhelpful when you're negotiating a treaty that's supposed to be ambitious to have a weak target. It will be very helpful not just for Canada, but for the negotiating process to succeed, for Canada to really come back with a better target that helps move the rest of the world to a stronger treaty. So we have our domestic considerations, and how can our domestic role propel the world to a better treaty. Now we're behind the 8 ball because we have emissions that have basically, the Copenhagen target Stephen Harper set has been missed virtually 100%. So we have lost time. We can't afford to procrastinate. We can't afford to say, this is a good first step. Like we're decades past taking a good first step. We need to get to the finish line, and we are starting late. So it'll be hard. I don't take anything away from that, but we need a target. The provinces need to agree. Maybe some provinces will agree to deeper targets to help deal with the provinces that are recalcitrant. But we as a country have to re-engage, and we have the potential, and our Prime Minister designate has the potential to be a hero coming out of Paris.
So even though our government is showing a more positive direction in terms of environmentalism, we still need to stay strong in that we want more. We want them to make sure to set goals that are both realistic and actually progressive. Even with all the environmental disasters that have happened in the past 100 years or so, the world is still an incredibly beautiful place, and there's just so much to be lost if we're not conscientious of our individual impacts and the impacts of our society overall. We want future generations to be able to enjoy the world as much as we do, so we need to protect it because it is ours to lose. So do your part in whatever way you can to appreciate it and protect it so that it lasts. Think about all the things you have in life to appreciate. Literally anything, such as a beautiful sunset, a hike through the forest, or a swim in the ocean, or even just a nice breath of fresh air. And realize that all of that depends on the Earth being able to sustain our species. If the world ends, that doesn't mean that it's actually going to end. It just means that our species is going to end. It will continue on anytime, but the real concern for environmentalism is the Earth staying within a range that we can survive within it. So really think, what do you have to lose? So much so that we all need to act. So be the change you want to see in the world. Take that first step in your community to make a difference, and you'll be surprised at the number of people you see following in your positive example. And if you've maybe already done something like that in your community, please share that in the comments below, as well as any ideas you might have of how you can appreciate the world around you and protect it for future generations. And as always, please join me again next week where I try again to share a little something I've learned in life.
Reducing carbon emissions and fighting climate change matter to me, they matter to Canadians, and they matter to the world. It's time we stepped up.